Hello, welcome to the 199 Unlisted podcast. My name is Frank. I'll be sitting here talking to you for a few minutes. As usual, wearing clothes. I'm wearing a hat. Yes, I am. And a Gina Carano Star Wars t shirt. Yes, I feel complete. I was asked how come I haven't talked about any crazy current events. And, well, one is because I don't care. I've been busy playing lots of video games, and yeah, that's pretty much it. But I can talk, why not? But let's talk about the Epstein files. First off, good news. Uh, my name was redacted, so I'm very happy about that. Also, we didn't learn anything from the files. It's you know mostly redacted, so I don't know what there is to talk about. I mean, there's lots of pictures of Bill Clinton, but everyone already knew. There's pictures of Bill Gates, but people already knew. So, but it's not pictures of them doing anything. It's just pictures of them hanging out, and sometimes they'll have a uh, someone's face blacked out. But if if you're thinking that the Epstein files are going to have proof of someone doing something wrong, none of that's been released. Now, some are saying, now I'm not a lawyer. I just pretend to be one on the internet, but there's a lot of stuff that has to be redacted because there's ongoing cases, civil suits, investigations, things like that, and obviously you have to protect the victims, but nothing's been learned, and so basically the Trump administration can't win. So they cannot release the files. And then everyone thinks, oh, well, you're protecting, a bunch of billionaires and famous people. You're a horrible person. Okay. But then, like, you release them, and then everyone's saying the same thing because you're not releasing enough information. Can't win. And the problem is, Obama had the files and Biden had the files before Trump had the files, and they didn't release them. But Trump has released a lot of files, and that's not good enough. So I wouldn't be surprised. Well, actually, I would be surprised that this would affect the midterms. But I mean, that's like a year away. But I just don't think people care. I think people are virtue signaling about the Epstein files. I think it's a vocal minority because no one said a word about the Epstein files during Obama and Biden. And if Trump was involved in anything bad, they would have that would have been the first thing they released when he was running for president. But people are just mad because they think they're protecting billionaires and famous people, and they probably are. So I don't know when people thought that the justice system, the legal system, the laws affect everyone the same. They don't. Uh, Rich people, people with influence, they can do pretty much anything they want. It's the normal folk, the poor people, the people with just a little money, but not the billions. those people are the ones that get in trouble, have to follow the law, stuff like that. But the reason why I don't think people really care, and the reason why I'm saying I think it's a vocal minority, yeah, I know I'm talking with a picture of Licio in the background, but she's my favorite idol. I've been staring at her like this for a long time. Let me enjoy it. But she's smoking hot. Anyway, I've been saying that for like 5 years now. But anyway, why are people acting surprised that the justice system isn't fair? That's what I don't understand. Also, I don't think people care about the Epstein files because when the border was open for 4 years, back when Biden was president, and millions of people crossed the border, and like and these are just guesstimate numbers. Some have said, some whatever polls or just different sources do research. So you know, Channel 4 News will say this, Channel 7 News will say that. But it's between, I've heard some say 10 million, and I've seen some as high as 20 million people have crossed the border. I mean, and that's a big gap, 10 and 20 million, but, whatever. But let's just go in the middle. So let's just say 15 million illegals crossed the border during Biden's presidency. Okay, we have documented. This is according to the FBI. Over 300,000 unaccompanied children are missing and unaccounted for that cross the border illegally. So if you really cared about the children, you would have wanted the border closed because back when the border, I mean, back when Biden first came in office and the first stream of people were coming, there were people doing news stories and making it public that children were were missing, and that went on for a couple of months, and then no one cared about the story. I remember I saw, it might have been Alex Jones. He saw a government agent. That's all he said. It was a government agent pull up in a minivan and take 8 kids away in a minivan, and the kids didn't have any adults with them. And Alex was asking him questions, and the guy didn't answer, but he was wearing some kind of vest that showed that he was working for the government. I you have to look it up, and the video probably got taken down. But it was all done out in the open, and like no one was outraged. So I don't understand why 300,000 kids are missing in America and no one cares, right? But you care about the Epstein files. That's why I think that it's just a vocal minority making a lot of noise on the internet, and it's probably left leaning people making all the noise because they want to make the current administration look bad when this administration at least released some files. And then the only thing, from what I've seen, once again, I didn't read all the files, and a lot of the pages are completely blacked out. It's stuff we already knew. Like, we already knew about Prince Andrew. We already knew about Bill Gates. Like, we already knew about Bill Clinton. We already knew about Chris Tucker. We already knew, like, just every single person that's already been named. You see them hanging out, but there's no pictures of them doing anything illegal. So I mean, and I don't see any of these people being ostracized. There's a lot of pictures of Bill Clinton. I haven't seen one news outlet. I haven't seen one person make a video. I haven't seen one person outraged. And that goes for every single person that's been photographed a lot. So, does anyone really care? Or is it because it's just the wrong people being photographed? And then Donald Trump was in a few pictures with Epstein, like at a party or whatever. And people really can't um, make a big deal about that, because if they make a big deal about that, they have to make a big deal about everyone else, and so they don't want to make, I'm assuming, the Democrat Party look bad, because it's a bunch of left leaning people or politicians in all the photos. And also, if you really want to know what happened with all the Epstein stuff, because obviously the government's not gonna release it, because when they passed the release the Epstein file or bill, whatever, like Congress passed that law where like the government has to release the Epstein files. Okay, even though they did that, they didn't release them because they only released like parts of the files. They didn't release all the files, and they redacted a bunch of stuff. So yeah, like they're, even though they're releasing stuff, they're still keeping stuff. Don't be surprised. Like that's what I keep saying. You're never going to know what happened. Okay. Now supposedly there's a lot of victims that are alive right now and um, haven't said a word. I haven't heard one current Epstein victim say someone did this or someone did that. So even they're not sharing. So if the actual victims, who are adults now, aren't saying anything, and if the government's not saying anything, don't you think that we're just not going to hear anything about it? The actual victims were at a press conference a couple months ago, and they had a mic in front of them, and the world was watching. None of them said a word about who did what, which means you're never going to get any information. That's why I don't care about the Epstein files. And I have a life. Uh, I'm not concerned about billionaire problems, like, because it really doesn't affect my life in any way. The things that affect my life, and I'm I think I'm the average person. I just want to enjoy my time, have as least amount of stress as possible. You know, try to have as much fun as possible. Relax, work out a little bit, look at pictures of Licio. You know, I'm not worried about daddy government. And also, I don't need the government to tell me that half of Hollywood is, creeps, and most billionaires or millionaires are, doing weird shit behind closed doors. I already know that. The only thing I can worry about is my life, and I'm not gonna let the whatever 100 people on X who were making 1,000 posts a day about the Epstein files. I'm not gonna let them affect my life. I don't care. So yeah, so that's why I don't talk about the Epstein files. Anyway, I've said enough. I can't believe I had Lee C on the background the whole time. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.